On behalf of your promoters, Chuck and Sherry Hamilton and the R&B Distributing Company, welcome everyone to our Miller Lite Knox County Speedway. We're going to start the night out, E-race number 1 in our Bomber Division, 5 laps in distance. Starting on the front row pole position, driving car number 69 is Phil Pittman. On the outside of row number 1, driving car number 21 is Chris Dobble. Row number 2 on the inside, driving car number 34 is Rick Eisenhart. On the outside of row number 2, driving car 02 is Harley Utziger. Row number 3 on the inside, driving car number 55 is Matt Leilerman. On the outside of row number 3, driving car 33 is Tony Gibbs. And once again, we look for that green flag out of turn number 4. 5 laps in distance. E-race number 1. Bill Pittman out in that number 1 position, driving car number 69 right behind him in that second spot out of turn number 2. The 21 of Chris Dobble. It's Rick Eisenhart back in that number 3 position. Harley Utziger back in that 4th spot. One complete this time by with 4 laps remaining. Doubles in that second spot of Rick Eisenhart closing in on that number 2 position. Harley Utziger holding on to that 4th spot is Tony Gibbs back in that number 5 position. Bill Pittman, your leader over in turn number 3. Dobbles and Eisenhart bumper to bumper for that number 2 position. To complete this time by with 3 laps remaining. Bill Pittman in the 69, holding on to that top position. Chris Dobble second, Rick Eisenhart third. This time by the wave of the green flag with 2 laps remaining. Bill Pittman a little sideways on his turn number 4. Chris Dobble, the battle continues for that number 2 position. Harley Utziger still in that number 4 position in the 02 down here on the front straightaway. And apparently problems with the 33 of Tony Gibbs. That car slowing down in turn number 4. And the wave of the white flag this time by with 1 lap remaining. And side by side now into turn number 1 for that second position. Chris Dobble holding on to that second spot. Rick Eisenhart right behind him in that 3rd position. And this time as they head out of turn number 4, the checker flag falls for Phil Pittman. Chris Dobble finishing in that number 2 position. It's Rick Eisenhart in that 3rd spot. And Harley Utziger in the number 4 position. And your winner of E-Race number 1 in our Bomber division, driving car number 69, sponsored by AAA Electric. How about a great big hand for Phil Pittman? Well, E-Race number 2 in our Bomber division, our next event. Starting on the front row pole position, driving car 007 is Keith Duffy. On the outside of row number 1, driving car number 01 is Mike Schaefer. Row number 2 on the inside in the 69C is Clint Cox. On the outside of row number 2, driving car number 0 is Thad Bonner. And starting back there by himself in row number 3, driving car number 4 is Eric Baker. Five laps the distance, E-Race number 2 in our Bomber division. Mike Schaefer to the high side of the front straightaway, taking over that number 1 position. It's Keith Duffy in that second spot there, side by side for that number 3 position. Eric Baker taking over that 3rd spot. It's Clint Cox back in that 4th spot. And Thad Bonner in that number 5 position. One down this time by 4 laps remaining. E-Race number 2. Schaefer in that number 1 position right behind him. The 007 of Keith Duffy, bumper to bumper in turn number 2. Eric Baker holding on to that number 3 position into the guardrail out of turn number 2. Clint Cox in the 69C holding on to that number 4 position. Bumper to bumper out of turn number 4 for the number 1 position. With 3 laps remaining. Clint Cox to the inside of turn number 2, side by side for that number 3 position. Eric Baker to the high side into turn number 3. Clint Cox on the low side, taking over that number 3 position. And it's dive by the wave of the green flag with 2 laps. Duffy sideways out of turn number 4. Clint Cox taking over that number 2 position. Thad Bonner still back in that 5th spot over in turn number 1. Mike Schaefer, your leader, down into turn number 3. Clint Cox in the 69C now bumper to bumper for that number 1 position. This time by the wave of the white flag with 1 lap remaining. And the car 4 of Eric Baker into the infield pit area. Thad Bonner taking over that number 3 position. And the race for that number 1 position on the back straightaway. Mike Schaefer on the inside right behind him. The 69C of Clint Cox. Cox to the inside of turn number 3. Side by side out of turn number 4 for the number 1 position. And for Clint Cox. Mike Schaefer finishing in that number 2 position. It's Thad Bonner in that 3rd spot. Division, driving car 69C. How about a great big hand for Clint Knox? Our next event, he raced number 1 in our Street Stock Division. Starting on the front row pole position, driving car number 18 is Wendell Byerly. On the outside of row number 1, driving car number 22 is Tom Curtis. Row number 2 on the inside, driving car 32 is Donovan Lodge. On the outside of row number 2, driving car number 10 is Kevin Lane. Row number 3 on the inside in the 251 is Tim Hastings. And starting in that last position, driving car number 25 is Tom Curtis out in that number 1 position as they head down the back straightaway. In the turn number 3, it's Kevin Lane in that second spot. Donovan Lodge in that number 3 position. Wendell Byerly 4th, and Tim Hastings in that 5th position. One official after with 4 laps remaining. Kevin Lane in that number 2 position, but right behind him the 32 of Donovan Lodge. Tom Curtis pulling away in that number 1 position, 2 down this time by with 3 laps remaining. Still Kevin Lane in that number 2 position, Donovan Lodge in that 3rd spot, Wendell Byerly 4th, Tim Hastings 5th. This time by the wave of the green flag with 2 laps remaining. Tom Curtis, your leader out of turn number 2. Kevin Lane out of turn 2. In that second spot, Donovan Lodge still in that number 3 position. And this time by the wave of the white flag with 1 lap to go. Donovan Lodge holding on to that. Wendell Byerly in that 4th position. Tim Hastings in that 5th spot. And this time as he heads out of turn number 4. The checker flag falls for Tom Curtis. Kevin Lane finishing in that number 2 position. It's Donovan Lodge in that 3rd spot. And Wendell Byerly in that 4th position. And your winner of E-Race number 1 in our Street Stock Division, driving car number 22, sponsored by Knox Auto. Come on, a great big hand for Tom Curtis. Our next event, E-Race number 2 in our Street Stock Division. Starting on the front row pole position, driving car number 11 is Robin Mellenton. On the outside of row number 1, driving car number 75 is Chris Miller. Row number 2 on the inside, driving car 56 is John Presley. On the outside of row number 2, driving car 43 is Brian Woodruff. And starting in that last position, driving car number 9 is Mark Speck. last to distance. He race number 2 in our street stock division. Robin Mellinson, Chris Miller side by side for that number 1 position. Mellinson taking over that top spot. Miller second. Back in that number 3 position, the car 56 of John Presley. In turn number 2, bringing out the yellow flag. The 43 of Brian Woodruff stalling in turn number 2. And a slow rolling start out of turn number 4. Number 2 in our street stock division. Chris Miller taking over that number 1 position. A side-by-side battle for that second spot. Mark Speck to the high side of the back straightaway. Now in that number 2 position is Robin Mellinson in that third spot. Back in that number 4 position, the 56 of John Presley. Side-by-side for the number 1 position out of turn number 4. Number 2 position. 1 official lap complete. 4 laps remaining. Heat race number 2 in our street stock division. Robin Mellinson now closing in on that number 2 position. Bumper to bumper down in turn number 3. 2 official laps complete. This time by with 3 laps remaining. John Presley holding on to that number 4 position is Brian Woodruff in that 5th spot. Mark Speck, your leader, down in turn number 3. Chris Miller in that 2nd spot. Robin Mellinson 3rd. 3 complete this time by with 2 laps to go. Chris Miller holding on to that number 2 position. Robin Mellinson right behind him in that 3rd spot. And the white flag being displayed this time by with 1 lap to go. Mark Speck, your leader over in turn number 2. Chris Miller second, Robin Mellinson 3rd, John Presley 4th. And Brian Woodruff in that 5th spot. Now Robin Mellinson to the inside of the back straightaway, side by side into turn number 3 for that number 2 position. And this time as he heads out of turn number 4, the checker flag falls for Mark Speck. Chris Miller finishing in that number 2 position. Robin Mellinson in that 3rd spot, and John Presley in that 4th position. Number 2 in our street stock division. Driving car number 9, sponsored by Geneseo Napa and Speck's Auto Service. How about a great big hand for Mark Speck? Coming up next, he race number 1 in our open wheel modified division. Starting on the front row pole position, driving car number 105 is Kevin Peters. On the outside of row number 1 in the 1H is Rick Haley. Row number 2 on the inside in the J3 is Donovan Lodge. And starting on the outside of row number 2, driving car M50 is Adam Mitchell. Kevin Peters taking over that number 1 position is Rick Haley in that second spot. Adam Mitchell right behind him in that number 3 position. One down this time by with 7 laps remaining. Kevin Peters, our feature winner 2 weeks ago here at our Knox County Speedway in the number 1 position. Rick Haley, the winner of last Friday night's feature event up at the Bureau County Speedway in Princeton in that number 2 position. Adam Mitchell in the M50 back in that number 3 position. In that 4th spot, the J3 of Donovan Lodge. Side by side on a turn number 4 for the number 2 position. Adam Mitchell taking over that 2nd spot. Rick Haley in that 3rd position. And heavy smoke out of the rear end of the M50. That car pulling into the infield pit area. Rick Haley back in that 2nd spot. Donovan Lodge up to that 3rd position. Halfway this time by with 4 laps remaining. And Rick Haley in the 1-8 with the last tire on the front straightaway. Donovan Lodge taking over that 2nd position. And the 1-8 spinning around down there in turn number 1. Bring out the yellow flag. And your winner of E-Race number 1 in our open wheel modified division from Monmouth, Illinois in the 105, sponsored by Chulfen Concrete Construction and Cactus Country Lounge. How about a great big hand for Kevin Peters? Coming up next, E-Race number 1 in our late model division. Starting on the front row pole position, driving car number 25 is Marty Thompson. On the outside of row number 1, driving car 26 is Billy Scott. Row number 2 on the inside in car 7S is Jimmy Lamb. On the outside of row number 2, driving car number 6B is Jason Plummer. Row number 3 on the inside, driving car number 12 is Craig Allen. And starting in that last position is Ryan Boone. Marty Thompson taking over that number 1 position. It's Billy Scott in that 2nd spot. Jason Plummer in the number 3 position. 1 down this time by 7 laps remaining. Back in that 4th position, the 00 of Brian Moon. In that 5th spot, the 12 of Greg Allen. With 6 laps remaining. Marty Thompson in that number 1 position down in turn number 3. Billy Scott in that 2nd spot. In that number 3 position. back in that number 3 position over in turn number 2, Brian Moon in the 00 in that 4th spot. Halfway the sky by with 4 laps remaining. To the outside of the back straightaway, putting the car 12, 1 lap down. Complete this time by with 3 laps remaining. Billy Scott in that number 2 position. Over on the back straightaway, Jason Plummer in that 3rd spot. It's Brian Moon in that number 4 position. Marty Thompson, your leader, down in turn number 1 with 2 laps remaining. And the wave of the white flags, it's time by with 1 lap to go. Billy Scott holding on to that number 2 position out of turn number 4. Back in that number 3 position, Brian Moon. And this time as he heads out of turn number 4, the checker for Marty Thompson. Billy Scott in the 26th, finishing in that number 2 position. Jason Plummer in the 6th in that 3rd spot. And Brian Moon in the 00 in that number 4 position. And your winner of heat race number 1 in our late model division, driving car number 25 from Mineral, Illinois, a great big hand for Marty Thompson. Our next event, heat race number 2 in our late model division, starting on the front row pole position, driving car number 86 is Joe Wyatt. On the outside of row number 1, driving car number 1 is Matt Yoho. Row number 2 on the inside in the T2 is Todd Bennett. On the outside of row number 2 in the 65R is Larry Reeder Jr. Row number 3, driving car number 58 is Darrell Rose. Eight laps the distance. He race number 2 in our late model division. Matt Yoho taking over that number 1 position. It's Joe Wyatt in that 2nd spot. In that number 3 position, the T2 of Todd Bennett. Larry Reeder Jr. in a 65R in that 4th spot. And back in that 5th position, the 58 of Darrell Rose. One official lap complete this time. Todd Bennett closing in on that number 2 position. It's bumper to bumper in turn number 3. Matt Yoho, our leader, out of turn number 4. Joe Wyatt right behind him. Todd Bennett to the inside of for that 2nd and 1st position. And it's Joe Wyatt taking over that top spot. Matt Yoho in that number 2 position. Once again, Todd Bennett to the inside of turn number 4. Challenging for that 2nd position. Joe Wyatt, your leader, down in turn number 3. Matt Yoho right behind him in that second spot. Halfway this time by with 4 laps remaining. Five down this time by with 3 laps remaining. Top 2 positions, Don Bennett third and Larry Reeder Jr. in that number 4 position. And this time by the wave of the green flag with 2 laps remaining. Challenges that number 1 position. Yoho taking back that top spot. Joe Wyatt back to that number 2 position. Todd Bennett third. Larry Reeder Jr. fourth. Bumper to bumper down in turn number 3. Top 4 positions this time by the wave of the white flag with 1 lap remaining. With 1 to go, it's Matt Yoho back in that number 1 position. Joe Wyatt second. Todd Bennett in that 3rd position. Larry Reeder Jr. 4th. Your leaders down in turn number 3. And this time as they head out of turn number 4, the checker flag falls for Matt Yoho. Joe Wyatt in the 8-6, finishing in that number 2 position. Todd Bennett in the T2 in that 3rd spot. And Larry Reeder Jr. in the 65R in that 4th position. And your winner of V-Race number 2 in our late model division from Abingdon, driving car number 1, sponsored by Tony's Quality Auto Body. A great big hand for Matt Yoho. Okay, racing fans, let's everyone stand up and salute all of our drivers in our Bomber feature event. Stand up and cheer for your favorite car driver as they pass down the front straightaway of our Miller Lite Knox County Speedway. Our salute to our Bomber feature drivers. For that green flag out of turn number 4. Glenn Knox in the 69C out in that number 1 position. Right behind him in the 69 is Phil Pittman. It's Rick Eisenhart in the 34 in that number 3 position. Bill Pittman to the high side of turns 3 and 4, challenging for that number 1 position. Side by side out of turn number 4, Bill Pittman. Second spot is Rick Eisenhart in that 3rd position. And the 21 of Chris Double. Dad Bonner back in that number 5 position, a side-by-side battle for that 6th spot. Eric Baker taking over that number 6 position. To complete this time by with 5 laps remaining. Side-by-side in the turn number 2. Holding on to that number 1 position, Clint Cox hanging on to that 2nd spot. 3 down this time by with 5 laps remaining in our Bomber feature event. Rick Eisenhardt in that number 3 position, Chris Dowells in that 4th spot. Dad Bonner in the 0 in that 5th position. And a battle for that 6th spot on the first straightaway. Eric Baker holding on to that number 6 position. Harley Essinger in that 7th spot. Matt Slayleman in the number 8 position. And Tony Gibbs in that 9th spot. And a car stalling over in turn number 2, the 007. Off Keith Duffy bringing out the yellow flag. A battle for that 2nd spot. Clint Cox in the 69C in that number 2 position. It's Rick Eisenhardt in the 34 in that 3rd spot. 4 complete this time by with 3 laps remaining. In that number 4 position is Eric Baker 5th, that Bonner 6th. Tony Gibbs 8th. And in that 9th spot, the 007 of Keith Duffy. And this time by the wave of the green flag with 2 laps to go. Bill Pittman in the 69. Clint Cox in the 69C in those top 2 positions. Rick Eisenhardt, Chris Dowells now side by side for that 3rd spot. Down in turn number 3. And the wave of the white flags, it's time by. And heavy smoke out of the car number 4 down in turn number 4. And over that number 5 position. Keith Duffy up to that 6th spot. And this time as he heads out of turn number 4. For Bill Pittman. Clint Cox finishing in that number 2 position. It's Rick Eisenhardt 3rd, Chris Dowells 4th. And your winner of our 7-lap Bomber feature event, Driving car number 69, sponsored by the Corral on Grand Avenue. And AAA Electric. As he takes his helmet off, how about a great big hand for Bill Pittman? Okay, racing fans, let's everyone stand up and salute all of our drivers in our Street Stock feature event. Stand up and cheer for your favorite car and driver as they pass down the front straightaway of our Miller Lite Knox County Speedway. Our salute to our feature drivers. Row number 4 on the inside, driving car number 18 is Wendell Byerly. On the outside of row number 4, driving car 56 is John Presley. Row number 5 on the inside in the 251 is Tim Hastings. On the outside of row number 5, driving car 43 is Brian Woodruff. And starting in that last position, driving car number 25 is Bill Yee. Seven laps the distance in our Street Stock victory. John Curtis, your leader out of turn number 2. It's Kevin Lane in that second spot. Back in that third position, the car number 9 of Mark Speck. In that fourth spot, the 32 of Donovan Lodge. One complete this time by with 6 laps remaining. Back in that fifth position, Robin Miller, 11 in that seventh spot. Bumper to bumper, side by side for that number 3 position down in turn number 3. Mark Speck, Donovan Lodge battling for that third spot. 2 complete this time by with 1 to go. Moving on to that number 5 position, Robin Mellis in 7. John Presley 8. Back in that 9th spot, the car 25 of Bill Yeast. And in that 10th position, the 43 of Brian Woodruff. John Curtis, Kevin Lane do battle for that number 1. 4 complete this time by with just 3 laps remaining. Kevin Lane to the leader, not in turn number 1. John Curtis back to that second. Mark Speck still in that third position. Donovan Lodge 4th. Lodge to the inside of turn number 2. Side by side for that number 3 position. And this time by the wave of the green flag with 2 laps remaining. Chris Miller still in that position. Wendell Byerly 6th. Robin Miller in 7th and John Presley 8th. And Bill in their 9th spot. And Brian Woodruff in the 10th position. Displayed this time by with 1 lap to go. Kevin Lane pulling away in that number 1 position. To the second. Donovan Lodge 4th. Once again, Lodge to the inside of the back straightaway. Side for the number 3 position. And this time as he heads out of turn number 4, the checker flag falls for Kevin Lane. John Curtis finishing in that number 2 position. Mark Speck in that 4th position. Wendell Byerly 5th, Chris Miller 6th, Robin Mellington 7th, Don Wesley 8th, and Bill Yeast in that 9th position. And your winner of our Street Stock Feature event, the Riley car number 10, sponsored by Broadview on the Square, and Midway Auto Parts as he climbs out of his car. A great big hand for Kevin Lane. Hey, let's everyone stand up and salute all of our drivers in our modified feature event. Stand up and cheer for your favorite car and driver as they pass down the front straightaway of our Knox County Speedway. Our salute to our modified drivers. We understand the M50 did have to pull out. He blew his motor earlier in the program, leaving us down to 3 cars in our modified feature event. Kevin Peters quickly taking over that number 1 position. It's Donovan Lodge in that 2nd spot. Rick Haley in that 3rd position. One down this time by Kevin Peters, holding on to that number 1 position. Kevin Peters in that number 1 position. Donovan Lodge 2nd. Rick Haley 3rd. Kevin Peters number 2 of our 99 races. Donovan Lodge right behind him in that 2nd spot. Rick Haley 3rd. Down this time by 3 laps to go. Donovan Lodge closing in on that number 1 position. Down into turn number 3, 1st and 2nd place. Now bumper to bumper. Donovan Lodge to the inside of turn number 4. They're side by side for the number 1 position. Peters holding on top spot, still Donovan Lodge right there behind him. Rick Haley back in that number 3 position. And this time by the wave of the white flag with 1 lap to go. Bumper to bumper in that number 1 position. Last chance for Donovan Lodge. Down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Kevin Peters in front. Donovan Lodge right behind him out of turn number 4. The checker flag falls for Peters. Donovan Lodge in that number 2 position. And Rick Haley in that 3rd spot. And your winner of our modified feature event, driving car 105 from Monmouth, Illinois, sponsored by the Cactus Country Lounge and Trulson Concrete Construction. A great big hand for Kevin Peters. Okay, racing fans, let's everyone stand up and salute all of our drivers in our late model feature event. Stand up and cheer for your favorite car and driver as they pass down the front straightaway of our Miller Lite Knox County Speedway. Our salute to our late model feature drivers. Turn number 2 in that number 1 position, Marty Thompson, Joe Wyatt, side by side for that second spot. One complete this time by with 16 laps remaining. Marty Thompson in that second spot is Joe Wyatt, Larry Jr. in that number 4 position, and Todd Bennett in that 5th spot. 2 down with 15 to go this time by. Larry Jr. taking over that number 3 position. Joe Wyatt in that 4th spot. In a side battle for the number 6 position. Jason Plummer taking over that 6th spot. Billy Scott in that 7th position. Brian Moon in that 8th spot. Down this time by with 13 to go. And your leader on in turn number 2 is Marty Thompson in that spot. Larry Reeder Jr. in that number 3 position. Larry Reeder Jr., Joe Wyatt, Todd Bennett in those top 5 positions. The 15 to go, slowing off straight away. One official lap down. Marty Thompson right behind him in that 2nd spot. Larry Reeder Jr. in that number 3 position. Todd Bennett taking over that 4th spot. Joe Wyatt back to that 8th position. 8 official laps, 9 laps remaining. Brian Moon going 1 lap. 7th position, the 20, Billy Scott. And the car 00 of Brian Moon pulling that car into the infield pit area. Complete this time by with 4 laps remaining. Darryl Second, Larry Reeder Jr. third spot, and Joe Wyatt in that 5th spot. And a side-by-side battle down the back straightaway into turn number 3 for that number 2 position. Larry Reeder Jr. to the inside, taking over the 2nd spot. 14 down, only 3 remaining. This time by the wave of the green flag with 2 laps remaining. Now in that 3rd spot. Marty Thompson in that 4th position, Joe Wyatt 5th. And the white flag being displayed this time by Daniel Larry Reeder Jr., Todd Bennett in those top 3 positions. And Yoho, your leader down in turn number 3. And this time is a hit out of turn number 4. The checker flag falls. Finishing in the number 2 position, the 65R of Larry Reeder Jr. in that 3rd spot. The T2 of John Bennett in that 4th position, the 25 Marty Thompson in that 5th spot, the 86 of Joe Wyatt. In the 6th position, the 6 of Jason Plummer. In that 7th spot, the 26 of Billy Scott. In that number 8 position, the car 7 of Jimmy Lamb. In that 9th spot, the 00 of Brian Moon. In the 10th position, the 58 of Darryl Rose. And your winner of our late model feature event, driving car number 1 from Abington, sponsored by Tony's Quality Auto Body. A lot of great big hands